Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started. So we're here to have a pretty raw conversation about potential ideas for protocol v2. And I actually want to kick this off with a little brainstorm session, at least get feedback from people. What sucks about v1? What sorts of frictions have people run into when using it? I have my own thoughts that I've collected. And yeah, don't worry about hurting any feelings here. That's not really how this works. So, yeah, what sorts of things people notice about v1 that are limitations, things they sort of can't do with it, or sort of kludgy frictions that end up making it difficult to use our tokens the way they would like to?
I'll go first. I think gas costs to mint when you have a significant amount of assets in the collateral basket.
Yep. So this is the major one, which is that whenever you go mint an R token, you have to put down equal quantities of all the backing assets, right? This isn't like MakerDAO where you can like scale up the issuance of the stablecoin by putting down just one asset. You actually need to put down the whole basket. So the net results of this produces like two different user bases, right? You have this like market maker user base that is down to interactive protocol because they do like very large issuance and redemptions. And then you have like normal people who like maybe they issue a redeem with the protocol when it's getting off the ground, but like in the long term, they would like really prefer to like swapping pools because then they're just doing a one token trade for another token, right? So yeah, absolutely gas costs.
I think one thing I might consider would be like fixed rates over some period, some duration. So right now we've got variable rates. Other products might be interesting.
Okay, that's
for 1 year you get X, which may or may not be above or below rates. Interesting.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
I think having volatile assets and
yeah, alchemy. I love that too.
Stable peg.
Sorry. Yeah, no, highly desirable, very interesting. I kind of think it's like can't be done or something. Like, yeah, or like okay, rather you need to over collateralize because you need to be able to liquidate people as the value of the collateral falls. So you trade off and you become like a less capital efficient system. That's not like an invalid choice. It's just, we see essentially MakerDAO taking that approach. This reserve protocol is actually like a one-to-one CDP system almost, where you have to open all the CDPs up, scale all the CDPs up and down together at the same time. Maybe that makes sense. So anyway, yeah, gas costs rising from N tokens all times, fixed rates.
I have another thought. Being able to govern without potential loss of capital.
Yeah.
With your RSR.
Definitely desirable. Yep. Have people voted on proposals? How do they feel that goes?
Last one was very small.
Yeah. Last one was pretty small.
Really smooth. Really nice.
Oh, really smooth?
Yeah.
Okay. So the gas costs for voting, not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't like paying to vote.
Yes. Great.
So as an RSR staker, I want to be paid in something else.
I'll pay an RSR.
Yeah, so if you're being paid in RSR, and I'm looking forward to receiving this RSR next year, if I'm like a mega bull and I don't hold it for 4 years, then maybe that's fine. But if I'm paying just DCA out of it, then like, maybe if you give me $1 yield, I would value that higher, and I would need a lower APR. And maybe each user would like set that for themselves, right? You imagine a slider. So right now everyone's sort of at the 0% end spectrum where it's all RSR, but you can crank it up and receive the yield in the R token itself, right? That's one direction.
I have one thing that's possibly counterproductive here, which is other forms of emergency collateral than RSR.
Oh, yeah. That's a really interesting design space, and it comes at the direct trade-off of, RSR essentially having less demand overall. So, yeah, it's a really interesting design space that I'm probably not going to talk about. Maybe too much. But you can imagine like a tranche structure where the USD like gets hit first, and maybe the RSR last or something. And maybe that
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Another one in the potential alchemy department is loving the multi-chain approach right now.
Ooh, yeah.
Really would love to be able to mint USD on other chains as well.
So today reserve is deployed 3 different independent times on base, Arbitrum, and mainnet. And you could imagine like a single cross-chain deployment. You know, other entities have done this. You're accepting like a lot more risk in a particular way, but you could go into USD directly on Arbitrum or USD or base. I don't know if anyone else has like had to go back to mainnet because an R token that they like love to redeem, right? They have to go back to mainnet to redeem because they have it on. It's super frustrating. So.
I want to deploy an R token with collateral from another chain.
Oh, cool. Yep. So it's under like a similar umbrella, but some sort of cross-chain integration there still. Yeah. It's very cool. We've already hit a lot of really flows. All right, well, I want to push just one random ETH plus mints here, just so we can like sample some data, see what the costs of things are. So ETH plus today, backed by 3 tokens, right? SFRAX, I'm not gonna pull it up, but SFRAX ETH, RETH, and WST ETH. And you can see here at a gas price of 10 gwei, we're looking at something like $50 to mint, right? The second one, 8 gwei, $70 to mint. Third one, 5 gwei, $70 to mint. Now you might wonder, like, that's weird. We got like 5 gwei and 10 gwei, and both were like $70. What's going on there? The trading that happens prior to interaction with the protocol is actually a large portion of the gas costs here, right? So it's not actually the deposit into the protocol of the 3 different tokens. It's doing all that work beforehand to trade for the 3 tokens in the right quantities, which could mean interacting with a bunch of different markets, right? So essentially, if we can switch to a model where we only need to trade for 1 token instead of 3, right, then we should expect the gas costs to be much cheaper. Okay. Cool. I don't know how familiar people are with AMMs, so I want to give people some intuition about how they work here. And that is the opposite of what we wanted. Sorry. There we go. Cool. All right, should be back in a second. I'm not going to connect the wallets, and let's hope that the UI works the way that I need it to, given that. Okay, we're going to have to actually. Okay. Cool. Okay, so this is the 3 pool in Curve. This is a 3 token AMM. And it's intended to be equal parts DAI, USDC, and USDT. So you can see down here in the currency reserves, it's actually like pretty imbalanced at the moment with a shortage of USDT. Okay, that's kind of surprising. But yeah, it looks like there's a shortage of USDT and a slight glut of USDC and USDT. So, okay, so what properties do AMMs have? So one that's really interesting is if you issue in the exact proportions that the pool is expecting. Oh man, that's unfortunate. Okay, I gotta approximate this then. Is this gonna work? No, oh, so close. Okay, the thing I wanted to show here is if you deposit in exactly these proportions, so these proportions over here, then you'll notice that your slippage is 0, right? And in fact, it can actually be positive. You can actually deposit and get paid for depositing in the, well, okay, yeah, let's clarify. If you deposit in exactly these proportions, then you will not get paid. But if you deposit in the portions that the pool wants of 33%, 33%, 33%, you're actually moving the pool closer to where it wants to be, and you get paid for that. So you actually wouldn't need to put down sort of, if you are putting down $100 in tokens, you can maybe put down 99 if the distribution you're putting into the pool is what makes the pool go closer to a balanced state. So I guess, yeah, the implication here is like you could get paid to issue R tokens if R tokens used some sort of AMM model to maintain their backing. And like the strong form of the statement is issuance and redemption in an AMM model is a strict Pareto improvement over issuance and redemption in like the V1 model where it's fixed ratios of quantities of tokens. And like the way you can see that is like if you are like a small fry, you're not a whale, you don't have a lot of money, you don't want to maybe trade for all 3 different tokens required to issue the R token. You just want to put down 1. But when you put down 1, you take a little bit of slippage, right? So you can only really do this if you're only moving a small amount of capital. Oh, that was actually great. That was a really good example right there. Okay, awesome, cool. We got that green, you see this? So here you can actually see, if we deposit these quantities into the pool, we'll actually get paid because we move it closer to a balanced state, right? So basically the insight here is that instead of an R token today, an R token holds all the backing and it's just kind of like sitting in a locked vault, right? It's like we're holding all this collateral here, but it's not really doing anything. We could actually use that collateral and make markets with it, right? You could imagine that collateral making markets in an AMM pool, and people doing issuance and redemption by depositing that collateral. In the general case, sort of, it reduces to, in the V1 case, putting down the expected quantities in the baskets, right? Of the 33%, 33%, 33%. And you can never get a worse deal from the pool when you do that. You always get a at par or better deal, right? Because either the pool is balanced, and then you're keeping it balanced, so 0, or the pool is imbalanced, and you are moving it closer to a balanced state, so you actually get paid for it. So it's actually strictly better, sort of from a market maker perspective. This additional, these like 3 degrees of freedom, instead of the 1 degree of freedom, allows the market maker to, this is really the thing they want. It's like much more fine-grained, and it allows them to, in the worst case, do issuance and redemption like in D1, and in the best case, end up in a situation where you can issue our token by just putting down one collateral, right? So now we're in a world where like the normal users who before were relying on market makers to like issue the R token, go put it into AMMs, and then they'd swap in AMM, they could just do issuance redemption against the protocol directly because the protocol is itself a DEX. Questions?
Yeah, what happens on the withdrawal side when it's out of balance?
Yes, so great question, yeah. So if you redeem in the balance proportions, it's gonna be pretty much exactly what you expect, which is to say, it is the same as issuance, but in reverse. So, okay, cool. So this is withdrawing in exactly balanced proportions. And here the sum of those 3 quantities should be above 1, I believe. Right, yeah, pretty significantly actually. And that's because the pool is so imbalanced. I have no explanation for why the pool is so imbalanced right now. Does anyone know? No? Okay. It's not usually like this. But it's an interesting case because the question you're getting to is like, say you want to redeem your R token, right? What collateral can you get back? And here again, it's like, so it reduces to, in the V1 case, you getting back sort of your pro rata share of all the token balances. But you could say something like, look, when I redeem this R token, I only want this 1 token back. So maybe I want to redeem purely for DAI. And in this case, you can see you actually get paid to redeem for just this 1 token, right? Whereas if you tried to redeem USDT, which is the thing that's scarce in the pool, they would actually charge you. So see how the slippage loss, right? So essentially everything in the redemption case is like in the issuance case, but in reverse. If you redeem and you're okay with getting the whole basket, then it looks exactly like redeeming in V1. And actually you will get more value than, because the pool is imbalanced, you actually get more value than you'd expect. Basically, because the pool is imbalanced, there is this arbitrage available, which for some reason right now isn't going away, and I'm sure there's some explanation if you look on chain. And yeah, this is something Nevin's been, or the question Nevin had initially about this approach a lot were like related to, so what happens when the pool is imbalanced? Like why should I expect that when I go to redeem, it will be equal parts the 3 collateral that I want, right? And I wish I'd chosen a better pool for this. In fact, let's grab a different one.
In this case, if you ask it for balance, you actually get back not the 3 equal, you get it back in the proportion that it's currently at, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You don't get it back in the, well, yeah. I mean, there would be a little trade-off here where you'd be relying on arbitrageurs to balance the pool, basically. That's the property that you rely on. Okay, is this pool more balanced? Maybe, I don't know. I can't actually tell if it's meant to be a 50-50 or 60-40.
Do these pools only work with similar assets?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I actually want to table that and return to, actually, no. Let's quickly make it pass over that. Yeah. So structurally, what's happening here? An R token is being backed by LP tokens, fundamentally, right? And then there's an interesting question, can we just throw all the backing for the R token into a single LP token, right? That for reasons that I won't dive into because they're complicated, you can't do this if they're non-like kind. Okay, so if you have something like ETH and USDC and you throw this into a basket, this is just going to give you like a very different property than what our tokens are supposed to be, right? This is actually, the R token is 50% by value USD and 50% by value ETH. But that's not what someone who went to the deployer and made an R token that was half ETH and half USDC was actually saying. They actually wanted to start out at half based on the price at that point in time. And then after that, it's sort of up to the market, right? If ETH appreciates, maybe the ETH ends up being a much larger portion of the R token's value over time. So it's not quite the same. Yeah, you want to still maintain the basket properties. You don't want to essentially make the LP token, you don't want to rebalance between the different target units in this way. You actually want to separate out by the target units. Target units are like USD, ETH, Bitcoin. So if you did have an R token that was complicated, and it took USD collateral and ETH collateral and BTC collateral, you'd actually have to segregate them out by their unit. So you'd have one pool that was all BTC collateral, one pool that was all ETH collateral, one pool that was all the USD collateral, if that helps. And there's also interesting things that happen when there's a default to one of these collateral. You imagine if you put these all in the same pool that effect is exacerbated. And we might get that topic later. Okay, let's see.
How would LP positions be handled?
Say, Mark? Yeah.
If you wanted to have an LP position in the basket, how would it be handled?
Yeah. Okay, right. So this is, I've been talking about like, and leaving this up where we have sort of these base reference units of USDE and USDC, right? But the collateral that we're talking about putting in the pool are actually these like derivatives, right? Actually, you know, an R token is backed by CUSDC from, say, Compound, right? So actually, what you're putting in the pool are these derivatives, and that means, I mean, that introduces a few additional challenges. And it's not clear that it's like obviously, there are challenges to solve here. I don't want to like say it's obviously safe yet. One challenge you have to solve is that you have this like uneven appreciation now, right? So in the same way that like STETH, well, let's just use WSTETH. WSTETH against ETH in a pool is slowly like hemorrhaging loss to MEV because one side is appreciating while the other is not. And every time you get imbalanced, MEV comes and sort of is the beneficiary of fixing that. Yeah, where was I going with this again? Right. So have people heard of, or are you familiar with Poolside at all? Anyone? No? One, two. Awesome. So Poolside is a new next generation DEX that aims to solve this. It's a subset of the impermanent loss problem. It's not the generic problem of, you know, how do you can't prevent permanent loss in all cases, but in these like structured cases where you have one appreciating token and one that isn't, you can actually do this really interesting thing where after appreciation, you take the part that is appreciated, sort of eject it from the pool. Pool remains balanced, and then you have some criteria under which that can sort of re-enter the pool. This would have to end up implementing a similar kind of logic, except instead of rebase tokens, based on ERC 4626 tokens, right? So instead of paying attention to just the balance and after rebases, you'd actually pay attention to an exchange rate that tells you the exchange rate between the collateral and the underlying that the LP token is supposed to be pegged to, right? So CUSDC's exchange rate to the US dollar, for example. And what you can do then is actually put these sort of like differentially appreciating collateral on the same pool without taking any losses to MEV, which is a really cool thing. There is a different problem, though, of the atomic redeemability of these derivatives, right? So it's like you see that in the pool, there's this like CUSDC trading against AUSDT, and I want to like do a swap in the pool, but I actually want to go through the DeFi protocols to do that, right? So I actually want to redeem the CUSDC for the underlying USDC, because I don't really care about the derivative CUSDC, right? The thing I actually care about is USDC. That's what I want. So I think one effect of this is like constraining the collateral that are used in the pool to, in some cases, have these like atomic redeemability and deposit properties. Finally, you might notice this creates another revenue source, right? So people come and they swap into, so now the protocol is making markets, right? And people will not protocol users, but just normal people who don't care about the reserved protocol. They just care about swapping from asset A to asset B, right? They might get routed through these pools that are within the protocol, and then the protocol now has an extra revenue source, right? So now we're talking about like protocols aggregating these the revenues of the underlying. There's this benefit from diversification, and then there's this additional yield on top that comes from the trading fees between swaps that occur. TBD on what the demand for these swaps are, don't know, but that's one interesting direction there. Last thing I think I want to say for opening this up is you could actually, one thing that no one mentioned on the downsides with the V1 R token reserve protocol is that issuance and redemption is relatively bespoke, right? It's like people, if you've interacted with any of the aggregators, a lot of them haven't actually integrated with R token issuance and redemption directly, and that's sort of like an ongoing challenge that we have to push along. You could actually, if you switch into a model where you adhere to the interface of a AMM swap, suddenly they know exactly how to integrate with you, right? Suddenly, like, interactions with your protocol look like these normal AMM swaps that they're used to. It's just sort of like the mathematical rules in the background that define what tokens you can get out are different. And that makes it, I think, much easier to integrate with DeFi instead of being sort of this like off siloed island that like you kind of have to know how to get in and out of these things or rely on the UI or something like that, right? So, and I think I'm gonna table a question or the conversation around the downsides of this approach that occurred during a DPEG. Very interesting, like very, very interesting, but we do not have time for that here, I think. And I know there's also some stuff Nevin wants to get to, so yeah, just want to be open about this. So summarizing, directions for V2 that seem really interesting: solving the gas problem, allowing people to set their revenue or the rewards to come in terms of RSR versus the R token itself. And these are not statements saying these things are going to happen. These are ideas, to be clear. Some sort of fixed rate thing, which I have to definitely think much more about. Voting automation, or at least subsidizing the gas costs on that. Maybe some sort of aggregation, right, where it's aggregating it from an L2 up onto the L1. Seems like the most interesting approach there. And yeah, the net result should ideally be something that is like a lot less gassy to use, and is also more profitable at the same time because of the revenue, additional revenue sources. And yeah, that's basically what I have. Any thoughts before Nevin jumps up? Okay. Sorry, I understand that's a bit rushed.